G'day world, Chris Hogan coming to you live from Myriad 2018 conference. Thanks to Australian Landing Pads, and I'm here with Patrick Llewellyn, CEO of 99designs. How you going, Patrick?
Good, mate.
Yeah, excellent, man. You been a speaker here today?
I have, yeah. I was talking about hard decisions, so I was basically giving some advice to startups about some of the lessons we've learned.
And what's some of those lessons around hard decisions?
Well, it was just like stuff around like how to choose the right investor, should you go to the States, when should you go international, when you should think about taking on those markets, what should you do if you make a mistake, that sort of stuff.
So when you started, was it revenue based or did you get investor capital based?
No, so we bootstrapped for 3 years. So we didn't take funding until 2011. We founded in 2008. We're a spin out of another company called SciPoint, so it meant that we had a benevolent parent that could sort of chaperone us through, and then we had revenue from day one. And so we bootstrapped until we were ready, and then we did a Series A from an investor called Excel Partners, who also invested in people like Atlassian, and they invested about 35 million back in the US.
And that helped you grow into the US, I take it?
It did. Well, we had already moved to the US, so we were we're an odd little Aussie startup in that we started with a focus on the US. So we were a .com. We only took payments in US dollars. 88% of our customers when we moved to the States were already in the States. So we'd had really good early success with the startup community in San Francisco and Seattle and Austin and those sorts of places. And so, we were servicing them from Australia. And then I moved across in 2010 to open our office there. We had one guy already there who was working from his bedroom, and then sort of grew it from there. So first step was just to put customer support on the ground and then start testing and really getting to understand our customers, because once we were close to them, we could talk to them a lot more often and do real user testing with them in person and do this stuff, because that was the market that we were really most interested in learning about.
So what was one of the biggest challenges about getting that global team set up offshore?
I think one of the huge challenges as an early company is having that distribution from day one, right? Like I joined 99, so I'm the CEO, but I joined when we were 8 people, and so my first job was actually to open up our office in the US, and so I think the hard thing was having a distributed team, right, from the get-go. And I think we've gotten better at it. Now we're 120 people, 3 offices around the world, but it's still really hard, right? And it actually, I think as an early stage startup, makes life harder. I think if we had our time again, I think we would potentially try and, if we could, keep the team together, right? And so one of the things I think startups should think about is if you're going to move, you should all move together. I think it's hard to do the split distributed thing just because you're trying to figure shit out, right? Like really all your time is around, cool, how do I understand this customer, how do I figure out what this problem is, and trying to do that with a 7-hour time difference is quite challenging, right? And trying to make sure that everyone's on the same page and adding that communication overhead. So I think that was probably the biggest challenge for us and still is our biggest challenge, quite frankly, is getting communication right and making sure that teams everywhere are, feeling connected and working on the right stuff.
Yeah. So it's that time difference that makes whip meetings, I guess, rather difficult, and
exactly. Stand-ups are hard, especially if you've got distributed teams. So we're getting better at it, and we're building processes in place to do that. And then you got to invest heavily on tools, right? So, obviously Slack's now, but when we started, we were super early. I can't remember what we were using. Yeah, I can't even remember.
iMessage chat.
Yeah, exactly. Something like Adian? No, I can't remember. Anyway, so we used some early stuff, right? Like we were kind of the early adopters of all that stuff because we realized that having some communication medium was going to be super important. We're heavy users of Confluence, so really a lot about publishing so that we can leave a trail for people to learn in their own time. We do all-ins globally. We video those all-ins so that other teams who can watch them in different time zones. We rotate, so lots and lots of work.
What's the uptake on those videoed, the pre-recorded?
Yeah, interesting. I don't know. Good question. Yeah. I know that, so our Berlin team, for example, because it's hard for us the big teams are in Auckland and Melbourne, and so we tend to do the all-ins between those two teams and then video it for Berlin. And so the Berlin team, the Friday of that all-in week, they actually get together on a Friday afternoon, grab a couple of beers and watch them as a group, and then they can discuss the topics that we've discussed afterwards. So we actually get really good uptake in that example, right? And I do know other people, like if they've missed one, will go back and watch it. So I think it's proven really useful.
And so then does the ongoing discussion end up in threads in Slack or?
Yeah, it can do. That's one of the challenges. It can be a bit distributed still, right? It can be threads in Confluence, it can be threads in Slack, it could be the odd email, right? So that's it. We try to like push things to tools. You know, there's a fair bit of Trello board action along with Confluence. Confluence has certainly become, we've tried to sort of centralise as much as we can in there just because it seems to last a bit longer. It's always, while Slack was meant to give us better search, and they have, it's still pretty hard to find stuff and recall that. But yeah, all those tools help.
Is there ever a global team catch-up?
That's aspirational. Yes, we would like to do that.
Yeah.
We haven't yet. It's pretty expensive to put 130 or 40 people in one place. Yeah. But definitely something we aspire to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that'd be my dream as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We love it. But you know, what we do is support travel significantly. So one of the things, if you're visiting a city that we have an office, we will give you free accommodation for a week so that you can work out of that office. If you've worked, most people have travelled to one of the other offices around the world. So, you know, one of the things we really try to leverage is that cross-pollination and just having, and particularly we like sending individuals because it really forces them to get out of their comfort zone and really interact with the team that they're visiting. And so we do spend a lot on travel and just flying people around, and then key teams will get together. So we'll have the teams so not the whole company, but like we have a marketing summit. So all of the marketing team, we've got marketers in Berlin, we've got marketers in Australia, we've got them in the US. They all get together and have a week-long summit together. The product team will do the same. My management team, we do that on a regular basis too. So we definitely, take advantage of that to get together face to face.
What's some, I guess, harebrained ideas around actually bringing the team together? Maybe screens in the offices to show.
Yeah, we did.
Have you played with any of them?
We did actually trial one of those, robots, the iPad robots. The problem is the time zones just don't work. What we realised is people are just looking at empty offices all the time, right? Because the US, right now, the US, we come online at 4:00 in the afternoon in the States, right? So people might hang around for 2-3 hours, but that's not a lot of crossover. So those ideas haven't worked so well for us. Video conferencing though is obviously super important. I'm yet to find a really good one, so if you've got any suggestions.
I love Zoom.
Yeah, so I
Google Hangouts.
Yeah, so we use Hangouts, we use FaceTime, we use Slack, so Slack video a fair bit. Yeah. We use Blue Jeans, we've used them for a long time. Yeah, we've been thinking about trialing Zoom. I've heard good things. Yeah,
I find the quality of the video much better. So, sometimes it's the small things. Yeah. It's the quality of the audio, it's the quality of the video. Yeah. And maybe that sucks up a bit more bandwidth, but I find Zoom, the quality of the video is fantastic. The ability to share screen, annotate on screen, all that sort of stuff is pretty cool.
Yeah, really cool. All right, thanks. So everyone's talking Zoom, so probably should look at it. We've got a sweetheart deal with Blue Jeans because they're a part of the Excel portfolio. It's going to take a bit to switch us, but I really do like the idea. It does sound good.
The other one I heard of yesterday was Cisco WebEx. I've never played with it.
Yeah, I've dialed into stuff that other people have used it, but
Zoom's easy. I like Zoom.
Yeah, cool. All right.
There you go, Zoom.
Zoom, free plug. We get a discount Zoom?
Yeah, can we? Come on.
Please. Cool.
Australian company. For years, I didn't even know you were an Australian company. Isn't that right? That's good and bad, I guess.
It's we're really proud of our Australian heritage. It's great to be at this event, as I was talking about in my little thing. I don't even recognise the Australian landscape. I left in 2010 and came back in 2017. Now, obviously, I've been watching it, but it has evolved so much. The ecosystem.
Isn't this just off the charts?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've really seen it evolve, right? Obviously, conferences like this are really important, but just all the incubators, the sort of angel events, the interest in startups. You know, it's awesome to have people like Mike and Scott at Atlassian, like flying the flag, Melanie at Canva. Like, you know, the reality of it is we're really lucky to. There's a really exciting group of entrepreneurs who are doing, you know, great things out of Australia, and I think we're starting to build some profile.
Trello, isn't it Australian as well?
Well, Atlassian bought it.
Ah.
Yeah, no, so it wasn't, but kind of is now.
It is now.
Kind of.
We'll own it. We'll take it.
Even though
it's just like
US listed.
Just like Russell Crowe, I think
we'll own it. But yeah, I mean, I think obviously we're seeing the venture community here has just grown so much. When we were taking on funding, you know, it was Australian investors. I mean, we're an option, but not really an option. But today, you know, you've just got amazing funds like Airtree and Blackbird, and you know, even early stage stuff like the Right Click. There's just a lot of really good operators out there who are now got money to deploy, and I think that's really exciting for the Australian ecosystem. I think the money is starting to come with the smarts that you would get when you know, we were super blessed to get an investor like Excel on board. And part of what they bring is a network and an innate understanding of our business, and you know, an ability to give great advice at all times. And I think you can get that now from taking money from the local Australian investor, which you know, you've got SquarePeg and you know, Paul Bassett, one of our great Aussie entrepreneurs, you know, from Seek fame, now investing. And so, you know, if you can get, or you get Mike or Scott on your board, like, you know, it's pretty exciting. So I actually think we're at the precipice of it. Like, we're going to see a lot more of it, and it's nice. You know, I've enjoyed coming back. I feel like the streets are alive with the sound of startups, right? Like, I'm in Richmond. And
the streets are alive.
Yeah, but you know, Swan Street is, right? Everywhere you look, there's people in t-shirts like this, and you know, you gotta have a t-shirt, and then you know, and backpacks, and talking about
laptops.
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
And last question.
Yeah.
What's the scariest part about getting an investment? Getting investment.
What is the scariest part?
Because everyone talks about the positives. You know, I got a $35 million, investment.
I mean, you are giving up. You got to make sure that you're really aligned, right? Like, that's the hardest thing to get. You really got to know each other. The more you can know each other, the better off you will be before you actually hop into it. It's much like any relationship, right? Like, you know, you can sometimes think you're falling in love on the first date, but, you know, not always the case. So the longer you can get to know each other, I think the stronger the relationship can be.
So would you say draw out that courting?
Yeah, absolutely, if you can, right? Because I think you learn from each other, right? And you can figure out, is this going to be a good mix? Because I think if you're on the same side, like, ultimately you want to be solving problems together. You want investors who you have a great deal of faith in, you believe can add value to the problems you face, and then, you know, hopefully some consistency. Like, we got to know Excel for 18 months before they invested in us, and it just meant, like, the guys who we met in the first meeting continued to behave the same ways in the meetings that we had subsequently. 8 years later, still behave the same way on our board, right? Like, and it just, so I think we're really lucky to get high quality people, but I think, do your due diligence, you know, and you know, if you can get that right, then you're sort of trying to solve shit together, right?
Fantastic story there. Thanks very much for your help, mate, Patrick.
Cheers.
And thanks for watching, guys. Thanks to Australian Landing Pads for help bringing Beach City to Myriad 2018 and talking to champions like Patrick for Australian startups. Woohoo!
Thanks.
Cheers.